Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everybody. I see some people are still joining the call, so we'll give everybody a few seconds to join and then we'll get started. All right. Again, good morning, afternoon, or evening, everybody. My name is Alejandro Alvarez. I'm a solution consultant with Crowe. We also have on the line Steve Parker and Ash Parpandi. Ash Parpandi. They are account executives with our team for the US and Middle East regions, respectively, and they'll be acting as panelists, helping with the Q&A sessions. The purpose of today's meeting and our open office hour series is to give our clients a forum to ask us some questions and answer some questions about NetSuite for us to be able to show you how to use additional functionality. We are also working on a webinar series that will be more prepared remarks and functionality about specific topics. So look for those emails in the next few weeks. But for now, the main purpose is to discuss specific questions that are asked by you, excuse me, about specific topics. Today's topic is NetSuite financial reporting. I will do a high-level overview of financial reporting because many of the questions were not specific. So I'll do a high-level overview, but I want to answer the questions that were asked, and hopefully that will give everybody a good sense of what we can and cannot do with NetSuite financial reporting, and give you a good overview. We have a Q&A section on the Zoom webinar. So if you do want to ask a question, please type your question there. We will do our best to get to the question once we go in order of the questions that were submitted by some of you during the registration process. With that said, I'm gonna switch over to my NetSuite account. And obviously you're all NetSuite customers, so you're familiar with NetSuite. I'm using the administrator role, but I'm gonna concentrate on financial reports. The first thing that I want to address is, you may or may not know about this, but there is a preference under the dashboard set preference section that and then under analytics, where you have the option of set up for yourself. This is a personalized section, not a global section, or where you can determine whether you want reports to be run by periods instead of dates or months. You want all reports to be run by periods? Do you want only financial reports to be run by periods, or never? So you don't want any reports to be run by period instead of months, right? And months are usually periods, but there's some functionality within financial reports that is not available if you run it by by months only. So you have to run it by periods in financial reports to be able to do some things like 12-month balance sheets, 12-month trial balances. So we'll get into that as we customize some of the reports. So I have it as never because that's needed specifically for a 12-month report. Again, I'll show you, but if you just want your financials, you can say financials only. It's not super obvious when you say never, but it is the way that NetSuite is set up for financial reports. The first question, the other thing obviously is that when you come to reports, all your financial reports are going to be under reports financial, and depending on the functionality that you have, you're going to have more or less reports available here. We're going to concentrate on income statement, balance sheet. We'll touch on the cash flow statement, and there was a question about statement of cash flows, which I'll address when we get to that question. But we're going to and then trial balance. So we'll concentrate on this first section or first few reports for the financial reports, but you may have other reports like intercompany elimination, GL, audit number, etc. If you have questions about those, please put them in the panel, and we'll answer them later, or we'll contact you offline to answer those questions. Again, that's the purpose of this call. So. The first question that we had was, can we do line of business reporting in NetSuite? And the answer is yes. If we come to a financial report, an income statement, for example, this is a one world account. So for those of you who have one world accounts, you'll see this here for multiple subsidiaries or subsidiary context. But if you don't have one world, you will not see this report. You only have one entity, but everything else will be the same. If you look at the financial statement natively, it is represented in the total amount column. That's the number that will show up when you first run it. But you have the option of, with this column drop down, you have the option of selecting what do you want to see across the top. So if I'm looking at this year-to-date report, and I want to look at it by a class being a line of business for your specific company, then you can just select the class, whether you want it by hierarchy, if you have multi-level lines of business or class or not. So I'm going to select the hierarchy, and all you have to do is refresh, and it's going to show you the different lines of businesses with the names that you've identified across the top, and you can obviously then just view that information. If a transaction is not classified, then it's going to show under the no class column here. Once you do that, you can do that by line of business. You can do it by department. You can do it by location. You can also do it by period, right? So you can say, well, when I look at by month, so I have the first month, 4 months of the year. You can do a month. You click refresh, and it's going to give you those months. You can further filter your reports by selecting a specific line of business here, or you can select this in combination with a specific department, with combination with a specific location. So you can play around with that and slice and dice the information. What you can do is do a three-dimension report where you have all the classes, all the departments, and the accounts all in the same report. You can do all classes and specific departments if you want to look at a specific department and go from there. Once you select that, for example, I'm going to select Class A, you'll see that this number will change once I hit refresh, and it's only going to show you information that has amounts, right? To dive a little bit deeper into this, if you want to customize this report, you just hit customize, and this is the way for every financial report. And when you come to customize it, you can give it a specific name, a name that is meaningful to you. You can change the way that rows are displayed. So I can take this is a out-of-the-box native report, but I can create new rows and just add a specific row here, or I can move rows, I can move rows here and show, for example, gross profit before expense. It doesn't make sense, but by display, you can do that. And then here you can relabel those rows. You can relabel the row to something else. You can change hierarchies. You can show whether you want it expanded or collapsed. And you can even select how do you want the account order for that specific row. If it's a native row, you cannot change the account, add accounts, but you can add new sections, and you can then filter what accounts or account numbers or account types you want in a specific report. So you can play around with this, and if anybody's interested in looking at a specific report, we can certainly help you with that. I don't want to play around too much with the customizing of the report. It's not a specific question, but that's something you can do on the report lines. You can add specific columns, and we'll see that when we talk about the 12-month balance sheet, but you can add more columns. You can create filters where these are the native filters, but you can add additional filters and define whether they're displayed or not in the filter section of the report. And then you can display, you can select whether you want the zeros to show. If you remember before, the only February showed because I do not have zeros showing. And you can define who to share that report with, who can access this report. So you can define it by role, you can define it by company or subsidiary, you can define it by department, and you can define it by employee or a combination of all these. That way you can keep your reports private and available only to the people that you want to see the report. Besides audience, you have access, which is who can change that report. So once I'm going to change just to show zeros, and I changed, as you can see here, I changed the layout where I have expense above gross profit, just as an example. And I'm going to say, I'm going to give it a name. Because it's a customized report, it only gives me the save, not the save as. So the first time I've saved it. And then, I'm going to save it, and you'll see here that, expenses is above gross profit. It still only showed me activity for a month that has activity. There is no activity in the in other months, so it doesn't show me those columns, but it does show me zeros here for accounts that don't have activity. Let me move on to the next question. So the next question was customizing and breaking out the income statement by department, budgeting, forecasting. So we talked about doing it by department as well. So I can change this to a department, and I'm going to select all the classes here. So again, it's going to show me the report by department on top, and I can keep filtering that. Regarding budgeting and forecasting, there is a report under banking and budgeting called budget income statement and budget versus actual. In order to have this report, you have to have obviously a budget within NetSuite, created in NetSuite, but it's a budget versus actual income statement that is going to show you, allow you to select the budget category, which is if you have multiple budgets, you can create multiple budget versions. If you have the module called advanced financials, you can have multiple budget versions. So you can select your budget version. You can select the year. So another quick tip is that if you want to change your dates quickly, you can change it manually, or you can just select here a specific pre-filtered dates. So because I have it by year, I'm going to show this year to date, or this year. Not letting me choose it, so give me this year there, sorry. And it's going to show you the income statement, the actual amount, the budget amount, and the variance of that budget. If I choose a different budget, I don't have a budget loaded in this account, but if I chose a different budget, then it would just show me that different budget here, and again, show me that same variance. You can do this again. You can show this by if you have your budget by line of business, you could select your line of business here, click refresh, and it's going to show you by line of business all the columns. One of the things while I'm here is that with every report in NetSuite, you have these buttons down. Every financial report, you have this functionality down here. The first one is some viewing functionality, so you can look at it plain or by grid. by grid, it will just show you lines, so it's usually, you can see a little bit better across the different accounts. You can select your expand level. So at this case, you can see that it's expanded. I can collapse everything. It's going to collapse everything. So the expansion levels are 1, 2, 3. It's one. This is 1. You can select level 3, which is everything expanded. And you can also you can give it a title, where you display the title or not for that report. The title is going to show you the range of the report, the name of the report, at what context it is. So here is in the consolidated. If I change it to only the United States and refresh it, it's going to show me parent United States and then the name of your account. So this matches the name of your account up here. So this is this section. These 2 buttons are just quickly to collapse or expand. So you can do that very easily. Obviously, you can graph it. Some reports are not as easily or pretty graphs, but you can do a sort of rudimentary graph of the report. And then you have export functionality. You can export them to Excel, PDF, CSV, and Word. With financial reports, if you export them to Excel, it's going to export it, and it's going to give you the, let me see where that opens. It's opening another screen, so I'll pull it in. It's going to give you the report with all the settings that you have in NetSuite. So it's going to look exactly the same, and it has formulas. It will export the formulas. So if you want to do some analysis on that, some what-if analysis outside of NetSuite, because you can do that on NetSuite unless you have, planning and budgeting, you could change that. So I could change this to my budget to 100, and it will give me, the variance and all that. So it changes, it gives you that difference, and the formulas do maintain, all the formatting stays the same. A couple of things you can do as well. So you can print the report. You can also email the report. If you click this email, some users don't know this. If you email the report is you can select a recipient from within your NetSuite account, or you can add the recipients. So they could be users of NetSuite, or you can just type in the email here, whether you want them to be CC'd or not, or be CC'd. You can select a message. So if you're sending this, for example, to a bank, you can just send it to the bank and select the message here. That way you don't have to download, export, and send, or export, attach to an email and send it. You can select the format. So you can, as an inline HTML, or as Excel, attach the Excel report that I just showed you, Word or PDF, and you could attach other attachments from your computer or that are within NetSuite here. So this is a very nifty functionality. And you can also program the report. This program button here, you can select a program where you give it a schedule name and a date, when it starts, who the recipients are. So this section is exactly what I showed you before. Recipients, the message, what format, and additional attachments. And if you say run report more than once, you can select this report to be sent on a frequent basis. So you can say weekly on Mondays, starting next Monday, the 1st, or the 1st of May, or the 4th of May. You can select an end by date, and once you save it, every month, every Monday at 8 a.m. this email is going to send based on the standard format of that email, based on the base configuration of the email, of the report, is going to send that report to your audience. So that's very nifty, very good functionality to think about using. The next question we had was, is it possible to get the reports in a different currency? So with native functionality, you can't. You can only, the financial reports are only going to run in the reporting currency of your subsidiary or your company. And so that reporting currency, as you may know, is under the subsidiaries tab. If you have the subsidiaries feature, and if you go to the subsidiary under view, there's going to show you the specific currency of that subsidiary. So if you have subsidiary that's US dollars, the report will run on US dollars. If you have a subsidiary like Australia, that's Australian dollars, then the same report with the same view is going to run for Australia in Australian dollars. So the same report can run in different currencies, but not within the same subsidiary, I guess is a better answer for that. The only exception is if you have the feature called multi-book, which is a feature of NetSuite that allows you to have for the same subsidiary 2 sets of books or multiple sets of books, and you can define one set of books in US dollars and another set of books in another currency, and NetSuite will allow you, based on currency exchange rates, it will keep track of both sets of books, and then you can run the report for that subsidiary in another currency. Next question we had was customizing existing financial reports and 12-month comparative balance sheet and trial balance. So hopefully some of the configuration of financial reports has been sort of clear. Obviously, there's some work that goes into this, the designing how you want to customize the report. Basically, what we always recommend is that you present a layout format in Word or Excel, what accounts you want in what specific order, how you want to, what accounts within specific groupings, and you can then customize a report, to your heart's content. But the important thing is that you need to be able to define that model outside of NetSuite is our recommended approach for customizing the report. As far as creating a 12-month comparative balance sheet, I've created one already, just for the sake of time, 12-month balance sheet. And I'm going to open this in another tab, and you'll see that the report, it shows me the 12-month balance sheet, and it's, as of 4/30, it's showing me the last 12 months. So as I change the report to, February 29th, and I refresh it, it's going to show me the previous 12 months, the rolling 12 months. And the question is, well, how did I do that? It's the same balance sheet report. I started from the balance sheet, from the standard balance sheet report, and I, click customize, and I renamed the report. I left the order of the rows the same. I did not change that, but I changed the columns. And the way that I did that is that within the amount column, you'll see that it's the same. If I look at a standard balance sheet report, if I go to my balance sheet report, the basic report, and I customize it, you'll see that the columns are the same. There's 2 columns, one for the financial rows and one for the amount. So it's the same columns. But here, under here, there's something that you can do to customize the report and change it, which is basically you have this alternate date range type. And you have 2 options, relative to report date and relative to today's date. We typically recommend to use relative to report date because it uses that date at the filter of the report. You click on cumulative value so that it has all the value within that specific month. And on the alternate date range, you select the last, if I go to year, I just selected last rolling year. This last rolling year option only shows up if I have my set preferences that I talked to before set to never. Don't necessarily ask me why I did not design NetSuite, but that's the way it works. If you don't have this option, and I'll show you that how it looks different. If I only have financials only, and I close this report, and I come back to the 12-month balance sheet, and I customize it, you'll see that just because I changed that setting, the report is going to look a little bit different. Still loading, it's loading. See, now it doesn't say 4/30, it says April 2020. Just this is different. And if I come to the, still loading. See, I might have broken it, but Give me just a second to refresh. This demo account sometimes are a bit slow, so thank you for your patience. It should load fairly soon. So it's not liking that. So let me just change my preference back and continue what I was doing. I'll just do it in another report. So let me just change this back. And I'm gonna pull that report up again. For those of you that are not familiar with NetSuite, I think we have a couple of new users. This up here is a global search. It's very powerful. You can type almost anything and it will look for transactions, records, etc., and pull that. So it's a good way to get in your reports, quickly. So again, we have that here. I'll go back and just show you to finish this configuration. But this is what I did. Change the last rolling year and select the range segments being month. And once you do that, then obviously the report it shows as displayed that 12-month rolling balance sheet. So if you have the option of if you select the option of financials only on the reporting preference, then you'll get an option of the last 18 months, not the last 12 months. So you can still use those 18 months, download it to Excel, and remove the 6 months that you don't want, but you don't get the same last rolling year. Again, it's a little bit it's a little bit confusing. So if you have any questions, we can help you with that. But this is the way that you would customize a report. Couple of additional things. So if you're using this report frequently, you don't want to be typing on the global search all the time, you can create a shortcut. For those of you that are not familiar with shortcuts, is this start here. You can add it to your shortcuts and call it 12-month balance sheet. Select whether you want a new window or not. And once I save that, if I go to my dashboard and if I go to my my shortcuts portlet here, which I'm just going to drop up here, now you'll see that it appears here, and I just have to click there, and it's going to take me to that report. And again, this report can be sliced and diced like any report. It's the same financial balance sheet. And the other thing that you can do is you can drill down into the balance sheet and click on it, and then it will give you the detail of the balance sheet for all the transactions for each of the specific accounts. One thing that I want to mention as well is that when you're working with financial reports, in this more options section, you have a couple of additional functionality. You can show the currency symbol or not, right? If you want to make sure that you know what currency the report is on. And then you have that expand level on the default. Do you want it collapsed or not? And you have what drill down report you want to use. So if you are customizing a report and you want the drill down report, the detail report to have the same look, then you have to create, based on the balance sheet detail report, create that customized detail report and link them here. If not, it's going to take you to the default balance sheet detail report, and it may not look exactly the same as your header report. And if you just to follow what I'm talking about, you always have a balance sheet detail and summary. So this is a summary and this is a detail. They are linked this way, and this is where you would be able to link two customized reports so the views are similar, right? Any detail, if you added a customer name or if you added any type of additional information to any of your reports, this is how you would do it. The trial balance sheet, the trial balance report, it's the same. The trial balance report, if I run it, which was the other question of how to customize the trial balance, this is a native trial balance. You have the option of showing, your debit, or whether an account has a debit or credit balance, or you have the option of just showing a total balance column, and it will show you, obviously, if it's supposed to be a debit and it's a credit, it'll show it as negative. You can customize this report the same way, and the output is going to be, a 12-month trial balance. And you can see that I just typed 12 try, and it knows that it's a 12-month trial balance. And it's the same report. I have it as total, and it's customized, where it's showing me the account, and it looks very much like the balance sheet. Same concept relative to report date, last rolling year, selecting the month. So hopefully that answered that question. Next question was, a new NetSuite, getting started in customizing financial and managerial reporting. We've touched on those topics. Hopefully we've answered some of the questions you had. Statement of cash flow is the next question. So NetSuite has a cash flow statement, which basically is a statement of cash activities for the past. NetSuite doesn't have a native future cash flow statement. So if you're looking for a future, 13-week cash flow report that show based on your accounts receivable, accounts payable, and current bank balance, NetSuite doesn't provide that out of the box. We do have a partnership with a company called Tavarna that we work very closely with, and they have developed a Suite app that does that. It's configurable. You have some configuration, and you select your bank account, and based on the AR and AP that it's in the system, and the due dates of those transactions, it'll project the cash flow. If you're interested in that Suite app, commercial, Tavarna has offered to our Crowe clients the first year of the subscription for free, and a free implementation of that app. So if you're interested in that, post a comment on the box, and we'll make sure we follow up with you to work on details on that. But that is a promotion that they will give him, just because they know how important cash flow is right now, and a lot of customers with NetSuite just export AR, AP, and do a lot of Excel magic to get that accomplished. The next step was, can I have a one report with multiple schedules filtered at different values? With one report, could I make pushed out from the schedule with different value in the report? For example, if I need to push many results based on different locations, right now I created multiple reports with locations set and schedules run. So the short answer to that is, you're doing it the right way. There is no way with financial reports to push out the reporting based on the user's or the recipient's location, which is something that you can do with safe searches, but safe searches are not reports, so the functionality is different. If you have any, we're going to cover safe searches in a different session, or if you have any specific questions, if we have time at the end of today's session, we will answer your question, but not with reports. Unfortunately, with reports, that cannot be accomplished. How do I track?
Alejandro, we lost audio from your side.
Ash or Steve, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
we're back.
Can hear you now.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry about that. I think I lost you guys here in this part. So I'll cover this again. So we're talking about the item profitability report, whether that item profitability report existed. So to start that part over, it does exist, and if you come to items inventory, there's a profitability report. That profitability report shows you for a specific time range the total profitability of a specific item based on the item fulfillment, based on the quantity, total item fulfillment value or cost of goods sold, total revenue, and then the calculations here. If you want to, again, with like any report, you can break it down by country or by subsidiary. So if I click on the US, it'll show me the US, and I can then customize this report. So if I wanted to add, for example, this is the way you can customize and add columns to the report. If I wanted to add a customer name, I can come in here and come to customer project and just select the name of the customer. It'll add it to the end of the report. I can drag and drop it. So I can say, well, show me by customer. And then I can preview, I'm just gonna give it item profitability report by customer with customer detail. And when I save it, you'll see that I basically just added a customer name, a customer to the report. It grouped it by customer, so I can look at my profitability. If I just collapse this, I can look at my profitability by customer, right? How much what I've saved. So for real point, for example, I've lost some money, and I can drill down and see what items am I losing money in for that specific customer. That's a way to customize a report. Next question is, well, we talked about was tips and tricks. We talked about that, some tips and some tricks. How do I leverage reports using advanced analytics? So advanced analytics, we're going to cover in separate sections, but advanced analytics is a new suite analytics product that NetSuite has pushed out as of a couple of releases ago, and it's very useful. It's still a newish product, not widely adopted. But what NetSuite, this is not meant to write financial reports. It's meant to replace you exporting data and creating Excel pivot tables. So NetSuite comes pre-configured with some work, what it calls workbooks. If you click on the workbook, you're going to see on the left, the data set that you can select. And here you're going to be able to see the columns that they've created in that workbook. And you can drag and drop information into that report, and it'll give you, questions and give you some options as you're dragging and dropping. And as you do that, you have the option of then selecting this. You have the option of creating filters, etc. But again, it's not for financial reporting. It's something that we will definitely cover with more detail in a future series or future session. but just know that it will not help you with financial. It can help you with financial information, but not true financial reporting. But it is a very powerful tool because it allows you to create very informational pivot tables, graphs that you can then publish to your dashboard and see them. So it complements a lot the dashboard reports that come out of native NetSuite. The next question was, how can we add custom field IDs from transaction forms with formulas into saved searches? Again, we're going to cover saved searches in a different session. I will reach out to the person who submitted this question and maybe get a specific question about that. But I mean, saved searches is something that you can add custom fields. If the custom field exists, you will be able to add it and use them in custom formulas. If you use some advanced SQL in your formulas, you can definitely select them. It's the same as adding a native field. You just have to know what the field is called or the field ID, and you'll be able to add that. The next question I have is, does NetSuite have project accounting and tracking? So the answer to that, from a financial reporting perspective, the answer to that is yes. If you have the project, so there's two different levels of project tracking in NetSuite. The simple project, which is the ability to create a project record, and that usually will be under lists, relationships. If you don't have advanced projects, it will be, if you go to a customer, to a specific customer, you will be able to see the, let me just get there. You see, it'll be called customers and projects. If you don't have the project management module, and within a specific customer, like Abbott here Inc., you can have a project under that. And the way that you see that is that you're going to, under relationships, you're going to have, under relationships, you're going to have it under projects, under sales. And again, it depends if this form is customized, but under sales projects, you can create a new project. And a new project looks very much like a customer record. It just becomes a child of the customer. So it's very similar to sub-customers. Once you have a customer or project created and you create transactions against that project, either sales transactions or cost transactions, vendor bills, adjustments, etc., then when you run a financial report, like an income statement, you can select that. I'm gonna do it for last fiscal year, and you can select a specific project here. So you can filter that by project here, and I can select that project here. This project will probably not have a lot of information, but we'll see what comes back. That, again, it doesn't have a lot of information. It may have something this year. No information, but that's how you could be able to run a P&L for that specific project. If you have the project management module, it provides, I don't have it in this account, unfortunately, but it provides you a lot more functionality. And there's also a feature called Advanced Project Profitability that allows you to look at your profitability by project across all projects. So it's not on a project by project basis. And then you can drill down to the details. But I don't have that, unfortunately, in this account, but it's something that if you are interested, just reach out to us and we can help you with that. Another question was, what other reports exist that are not financial reports? So as you know, we have financial reports and non-financial reports, and we have the way to build new reports. You can see here there's two options: new financial report. We'll talk about that first, and it always starts with a specific layout. It doesn't start from scratch. So you have your standard balance sheet or cash flow statement or income statement, and you have different, in this account, because this account is one world, I have different layouts based on US, most common layouts, Australian layouts, Canadian, and UK. Those are the countries that are enabled. As you enable more features or more countries, different formats show up. As you add localization bundles for different countries, then more formats show up based on the way those countries require you to present those reports. But once you click on a specific report, then it looks exactly like the standard report that comes out of the box. And you can again change the lines, columns, filters, and other options. The other reports that exist that are not financial reports are just what NetSuite calls reports to the report engine, which you can see on the left, the different types of reports that you can create. And once you click on a report, like open invoice report, then you can customize that report based on whether you want what metric you want to track, what format you want, summary or detail, what components, what fields. So it's a little bit more complex. You again have to know what you want to build, but all these reports are the basis of all the reports that come out of the box, right? Everything that comes under this report section, it's basically based on one of those formats of reports. Everything else that's not there would be under searches, save searches, and that's, as you know or probably know, it's a different engine of building reports. Is more for tabular reports, has more limitations in one sense, but it has a lot more capabilities in another sense. So depending on what you want to build, sometimes you go the report route, sometimes you go the search route. So that's the end of our prepared remarks. We have an additional 10 minutes. Is there anything that it's only been a couple of questions posted on the Q&A section. If there are no more questions, we'll leave the line open if somebody wants to stay and ask a question, but if not, I appreciate your time. Hopefully this was useful, and we're going to publish a recurring schedule of open series, of open office hours series in the next couple of days, but probably next week we're going to cover roles and responsibilities or safe searches. We're still trying to figure that out, but we'll send an email to that. Hopefully you can participate if you found this useful. Thank you again for your time, and have a great rest of the day.